Hello everyone. This year, Shock Surplus was lucky enough to attend Easter Jeep Safari in Moab, Utah, and we brought along an EJS first-timer to show him what it's all about. And yes, by him I mean that noob is me, Brandon. So I'm going to tell you about my experience. And first things first, what even is Easter Jeep Safari? Well, it all started in 1967 by the Moab Chamber of Commerce. And what was originally just a single-day event held on the Behind the Rocks Trail on Easter Saturday eventually expanded to the 9-day event we have today, which encompasses over a few dozen trails and includes a huge vendor expo. The Red Rock Four-Wheelers Club was formed in the 80s and has since handled managing the event. For a complete list of trails, registration information, and more, go to rr4w.com, that's rr4w.com, and make sure you check their list of trail ratings. So for each trail, you get a difficulty rating, and that'll allow you to determine if your rig is equipped enough to ride. The difficulty ratings range from level 1, which is basically a regular county dirt road, all the way up to custom buggies only for level 10. If you're just starting out with a stock Jeep or truck, or if you've already got a beefy modified factory vehicle, or if you want to test the extremes of your monster custom rig, there's a trail for you at Moab. In addition to official EJS trail runs, many other organizations and manufacturers also host their own. And of course, you can get out there and ride with your own crew whenever you want. Moab is pretty much in the middle of nowhere. All the closest major cities are around 4 to 7 hours away, so no matter where you're coming from, there's going to be a trek in front of you. Now for me, in order to join forces with our founder Sean, who's an EJS veteran and my personal Moab tour guide, I had to first journey from Los Angeles up to Reno, Nevada. Now my first choice of campsite happened to be closed when I arrived due to winter weather conditions, but I talked to some locals and they pointed me to the Pleasant Valley campground near Mammoth Lakes, which luckily was open and lived up to its name. After spending a nice night here, I packed it up and headed to Reno. Unfortunately, you don't have to actually own a Jeep to join in the off-road fun of EJS, so we loaded up Sean's well-equipped Toyota Tacoma and headed to our halfway point, Great Basin National Park. Now you'll want to do some research online before you embark, so keep a few backup campsite options open, check if there are fire restrictions, closed roads, and of course be mindful of seasonal operating dates. And when we hit the Great Basin, all the other campsites were full, so we simply found the next closest spot, which happened to be dispersed camping on BLM land near Sacramento Pass. The Bureau of Land Management covers about 250 million acres, so your odds of finding a spot to pop your tent are high. And of course, don't forget, leave no trace. As we took the final stretch of road to Moab, we started feeling that Jeep hype for sure. Couldn't help it, they were showing up everywhere. Convoys of Jeeps being towed in, and of course a few making the journey on their own rubber. Really had us getting excited. Once we arrived, a quick Google search of Moab camping led us to investigate Cane Creek Road, which we saw headed southwest out of town along the Colorado River. The first few campgrounds we passed had vacancies, but looked more like parking lots than campsites, and despite being on the water, they weren't very enticing, so we ventured further down the road as it veered away from the river and started to flow into a small tributary snaking through those canyon walls. Nestled into a series of tight bends, we found a fantastic spot right next to the creek at Hunter Canyon camping area. Naturally, after we got settled into camp, we used the remaining daylight to explore the area and snap some pics. At almost 340,000 acres, Canyonlands National Park deserves its own month-long exploration. With an unlimited amount of breathtaking views and miles of easy off-road trails, this park is a great way to soak in the varied terrain of Utah without the stress of a challenging rock crawl. Just don't get too close to the edge. We dropped in via the northern entrance to the park, starting on Schaefer Road. After rounding that first turn just moments into the trail, an epic descent filled with switchbacks reveals itself, and the expansive canyon to which it gives you access. As we proceeded down the trail, we spotted a turnoff for Gooseneck Overlook and decided to take the chance to stretch our legs and soak in the scenery. We decided to take an alternative path home and turned onto Potash Road, which snakes along the river-carved canyon's edge and passes by Dead Horse Point. Moving along, we spotted another interesting offshoot road that ended at another lookout point. We decided to check it out and discovered a couple in their Jeep admiring their view with their 2 little pups. This brief taste of Canyonlands had me super pumped to check out the trail rides we'd be doing in the next few days. Ah yes, the hype and excitement at the staging area before the trailhead. With all these custom rides lining up, there's no way you can't get excited. A motley crew had formed and was ready to tackle the Fins and Things Trail. A few Jeeps, a brand new Ford Ranger, a rough and tumble Willys CJ, and of course our own Tacoma, all riding on shocks from Icon Vehicle Dynamics. With a difficulty rating of 4, this trail is more accessible than it looks, but it's nothing to shake a stick at, as it contains many steep ups and downs on slick rock that will likely make contact with your bumpers or more. As with most trails, the serious obstacles can often be bypassed with a less severe path around. But peer pressure is there, and it'll definitely keep you staying the course, especially on a challenging part like Frenchie's Fin. Holy crap, the serious incline tested the limits of the Tacoma. We had an immensely enjoyable time connecting with friends new and old, and it was pretty rad having so many photographers running around snapping all the best shots of these badass rigs in action.
It's a brand new cat.
What in the hell?
After a hot meal, we snuck back to our neighboring canyon valley to further scope out spots for our upcoming night photography workshop.
Brandon, leading the charge to the moon.
After having been on my first official trail run at Easter Jeep Safari, it was hard to guess how this second run would compare since it's rated a 5, one step up from the previous. This trail had knobs and ledges of bedrock all over. They were riddled throughout most of the trail, keeping it bumpy and often coming in step-like cascades. All that hard driving was worth it though, as we were rewarded with an incredible view of Castle Valley 1,500 feet below. The La Salle Mountains stand snow-covered in the background. It is quite the vantage point. After enjoying a lunch on the ridge with our gracious hosts, we set out to hit the end of this out-and-back trail. Split from the pack, we started worrying about being solo as we tackled obstacles on the ride back to Moab, but our fears were put to rest as the friendly folks from Dana made sure to hold back and spot us over some tough climbs. After a long few days, we finally treated ourselves, and maybe those around us, to a shower as we rested up at a hotel for our final day in Moab. We didn't have a full day to commit to Arches National Park, but we definitely appreciated our quick drive-through tour. Just minutes from Moab, this is yet another must-see spot filled with incredible rock formations and stunning landscapes. There are some off-highway service roads you can explore, but the well-known trails are mostly outside the park and the surrounding areas. If we had more time to explore, this would be a great spot to park the truck, strap on the hiking boots, and head out with the cameras. The dramatic lighting and night photography, especially if you can capture the stars or even the Milky Way, just looks so damn cool. We've been honing our skills and wanted to share what we've learned with the community, so we invited anyone with a camera and a truck to come out and give it a shot at one of our favorite spots near Hunter Canyon. We covered some photography basics, all the usual night photo tips and tricks, and even had fun with some light riding. Our attendees got more comfortable with their cameras and produced some great shots. We loved meeting new friends and can't wait to host more workshops. It was finally time to air the tires back up and hit the highway. As we said farewell to Moab, we almost immediately started daydreaming about what it would be like to come back and spend a month here. On our way back home, we tried to outrun a rainstorm and wound up camping outside of a closed campground in Humboldt-Toyobe National Forest. We were treated to a break in the rain while setting up camp, and we woke up to a dusting of snow. Snagged my car in Reno and headed back towards LA while the sun was setting over the Sierra Nevadas. I was grateful for my Moab experience. With an infinite amount of natural wonders to explore, some of the most fun and challenging off-road trails around, and a ton of other outdoor activities to enjoy, Easter Jeep Safari is not to be missed.